They came dressed like soldiers, but they weren't. The shots that echoed through the cockfighting pit that night in Ecuador weren't meant for roosters. They were meant for people. 12 dead. Thousands vanished in betting money. The world caught a glimpse of something darker hiding behind the feathers. A centuries-old ritual hijacked by organized crime, and it's far from over. Crack open Latin America's boldest secrets, fact-checked, footnoted, and irresistible. I'm Arturo, and this is Latin Lora, Crónicas y Curiosidades. From Latin America's history to mysteries and true crime to local legends, whispering Latin intrigue, every tale is triple verified in archives before it reaches your headphones. Hit subscribe. Fresh revelations drop every week, ready for your next campfire debate. April 18th, 2025. The crowd at the rural cockfighting arena in La Valencia, Ecuador, had just finished watching a final bout. Blood still speckled the sand. A haze of beer and tobacco hung under cheap floodlights. Then 5 men pulled up in SUVs, uniforms crisp, boots polished, faces covered. People thought they were soldiers. They weren't. The gunfire came fast. Spectators dropped drinks, bets, bodies. In less than 2 minutes, 12 people were executed. Dozens more wounded. One survivor told CBS News they were looking for someone, but they didn't care who got in the way. By sunrise, the palenque, once filled with cheers and cash, was quiet. Just feathers drifting in the bloody dust. Investigators arrived before the vultures. 2 cars, one overturned, one scorched, sat by the edge of the field. Inside, they found automatic rifles, body armor, and a stash of cash hidden beneath a false panel. Fichas, colored betting slips, were scattered, smeared with blood and fingerprints. $20,000 had disappeared, but what they'd stolen wasn't just money, it was control. Ecuadorian authorities moved fast. Within 48 hours, 4 suspects were arrested. 3 men, 1 woman, all allegedly tied to the R7 criminal network. According to People.com and Xinhua News, the suspects had military gear, encrypted phones, and maps marked with future cockfight locations. The attack wasn't a random act of violence. It was a hit job. A hostile takeover masked as a robbery. A new kingpin sending a message. Long before cartels sniffed out the palenques, cockfighting was something else. When Spanish conquistadors crossed the Atlantic, they brought their gamecocks and their gambling habits. But Latin America made it its own. In villages across Mexico, Colombia, Peru, and the Caribbean, cockfighting became a weekly rite, part sporting event, part street parliament, and part communal theater. In tiny towns with no cinema, no bars, and no courts, the palenque became the gathering place. Farmers placed modest bets, ranchers bragged about bloodlines, and songs blared through radios rigged to car batteries. Over the years, it became more than a sport. It became identity. A rooster was more than an animal. It was courage with wings. If you've never been to a cockfight, imagine this. A low cinder block building, barely lit. Inside, a circle of dirt, ringed by plastic seats. The crowd leans in. Music thumps. Sometimes norteño, sometimes reggaeton. Onlookers wave bills in the air. Boys run through the aisles selling pulque, tobacco, or shot glasses of aguardiente. Then, silence. 2 handlers enter the pit, each carrying a rooster inside a woven basket. The birds shimmer under the lights, chests broad, feathers oiled, eyes bright and angry. The handlers strap metal gaffs to the bird's legs, sometimes curved like a scimitar, sometimes short and spike-like. Now, these are weapons. The ref brings the roosters beak to beak. For a second, you could hear your own heartbeat. Then the fight begins. Wings flap, spurs slash, blood splatters. Within seconds, feathers fly like confetti. Sometimes one rooster dies in under a minute. Other times, both collapse, still clawing. The crowd erupts. Money changes hands. And then, like a brutal carousel, The next match begins. Clifford Geertz once called cockfighting deep play, where the bets are irrational, but the stakes are reputation. And when narcos enter the game, the money and the danger skyrockets. In 2022, gunmen killed 20 at a derby in Morelia, Michoacan. 2 years later, 6 more died at a clandestine cockfight in Guerrero, including a 16-year-old American girl caught in the crossfire. Both attacks were traced to betting disputes between rival cells. Cartels don't just attend fights, they run them. They place massive bets, not to win, but to show dominance. And when someone refuses to play by their rules, blood spills outside the ring. Why does organized crime love cockfighting? Because it's the perfect laundromat. Bets are fast. Cash is king. No receipts. No oversight. A drug lieutenant can show up with $50,000 in dirty bills, bet big, lose the money to an associate, and walk away clean. The winnings now look legal, just lucky. Add in beer sales, side bets, breeder fees, and it's a cash tsunami. And if police show up, it's just a local tradition. Latin American journalists have tracked this for years. In Colombia, cockfights have doubled as cartel meetings. In rural Mexico, local mayors have turned a blind eye as millions change hands, every peso soaked in powder. In 2020, Peru's constitutional court ruled cockfighting is protected cultural heritage. But the ruling came with a warning: turn it into war, and the protection disappears. In Mexico, politicians in Hidalgo and Aguascalientes have pushed to label cockfighting as national patrimony. Meanwhile, Chile banned it 200 years ago. Colombia is split, legal in some zones, banned in others. Traffickers exploit these cracks. Where it's banned, they bribe. Where it's legal, they take over. The line between heritage and hustle is razor thin, and every gaffed spur blurs it more. Behind every rooster is a breeder, a gallero, who treats that bird like blood. From the moment it hatches, the chick is pampered, fed goat's milk, given sun and shadow, kept isolated from others to avoid injury. Its legs are rubbed with arnica, its feathers hand-trimmed. Every meal, every movement, every scratch matters. And when it fights, if it wins, its name becomes legend. If it dies, it's mourned like kin. To outsiders, it's just blood sport. But to a gallero, it's generational pride, woven with muscle and feather. At some palenques, a single night can see hundreds of thousands change hands. One man in Buena Vista walked away with $27,000 after betting against the favorite in every match. Where did the money come from? A local farmer shrugged and whispered, "La mota, o tal vez el polvo." Weed, or maybe coke. Cash buys attention, swagger, influence, but it also buys silence. Because when that kind of money shows up in a place with no cameras and no taxes, nobody asks questions, not even the losers. After La Valencia, Ecuador's Presidente Daniel Noboa declared a state of internal armed conflict. 36 gangs were labeled terrorist groups. Raids swept across Manabí, Esmeraldas, and Guayas. But the deeper the government pushed, the deeper the palenques went, into jungle clearings, secret WhatsApp groups, and encrypted live streams. From Miami to Madrid, high rollers still place bets on birds bleeding in Amazon dust. The fight has moved online, but the blood is still real. The killers at La Valencia wore real military gear. The same was true in Morelia. It's a tactic: shock, disguise, and control. Forensic analysts have noticed a pattern. Spikes in palenque betting often occur days before major drug shipments. It's a tactic used to clean money before it hits the border. The rooster's cry is no longer just a call to battle. It's cartel code. It's camouflage. And if you hear it in the wrong town at the wrong time, you'd better run. Some say cockfighting can be saved, that with regulation, microchips, vet checks, wager limits, it can be as clean as horse racing. Animal rights groups scoff. To them, the blood can't be washed out. They say cockfighting, no matter how well dressed, is cruelty in costume. Meanwhile, UNESCO debates whether traditions should evolve or be preserved even when they hurt. But history doesn't wait for consensus, and neither do the bullets. In villages across Latin America, the sun rises. Boys still train birds on hand-carved perches. Fathers whisper legends of past champions. Roosters stretch, eat, and prepare for a destiny that ends in blood. Cartel scouts count SUVs outside the ring. Bets are placed in 4 currencies. And while the world debates morality, the pit keeps spinning, louder, bloodier, deeper. The morning after the massacre, villagers sweat the sand, lit candles, left beer cans beside the blood. Life, like the rooster, fights on. But now every cheer comes with a shadow, every match a risk. Until Latin America answers the real question: can traditions survive without violence, or was violence always part of the tradition? The pit will roar, and sometimes it will fall silent. From Ecuador to Michoacan, from Manabí to Miami, this is the secret war behind the feathers. And it's not over. Gracias. Thanks for trekking the hidden trails of Latin America with me. If you uncovered a new clue today, like, share, and hit subscribe so you never miss the next story. Drop your theories below, and until then, keep the legends alive and the facts on fire. I am Arturo, this is Latin Lora, and I will see you next time. Hasta la vista.